Hello, welcome back to my channel. Some of you guys may remember my old videos. I had to make them private for reasons I will not get into this video, but I am here to say that I have started a new podcast with a friend named Santos. We're gonna talk about the greatest books in Western civilization. We're gonna name it Back to the Classics, and we actually recorded the first episode at Cabezas, also known as Cobbleheads, the bar. And the reason why we had to do it again is because the audio was really bad. It was either the wind and also something about the settings in the camera. It was just unlistenable, so we had to do it again. And so that's why we recorded this episode. I will say though, just heads up, we're not professionals. I know even as I was editing the video, there's a lot of things I get wrong. For example, I say that the war, it's in the middle of the war, which is not. It's in the ninth year, which is the last year of the war. There's more things, here and there that we might get wrong. But again, we're just exploring. We're trying to get it right. At first, this episode, or rather this podcast, was about us going to different bars, trying different beers, and talking about the great works. But I think as time goes on, we actually want to take it more serious. So we're gonna do most episodes are gonna be virtual, and then every now and then we're gonna meet in person to either have a little celebration over finishing a book or starting a new one. So we'll see how that goes. As time goes on, we're improvising. We're even thinking of just speaking solely in Spanish. So we'll see what happens. Another heads up is we're both hungry in the episode, so we order a charcuterie board at the bar we're in. So you might hear us, munching on, provolone or provolone, however it's pronounced, or what have you. So we're gonna be eating here and there. There's gonna be people coming in and interrupting us, so we lose our train of thought. And also another thing is the camera stopped recording 2 times. So sometimes we're hitting on a theme and the camera turns off. So we have to start again with a different theme, and it was kind of a mess. So, like I said, we're improvising as we're moving forward. So anyway, I hope you guys like this episode. We are trying our best, and thank you. All right, let's do it. So it's funny that we recorded a whole podcast and it was trash because of the audio.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have to talk about the same thing and pretend we haven't talked about it. Okay, so we should start with Homer. Homer, the man, the myth,
The legend.
the legend,
The man or the men?
or the men. Yeah, that's. So there's several. Se siente raro porque hablamos de esto. But there's several theories on Homer.
Mhm.
Some think it was one man who wrote the entire Iliad,
Yeah.
the Iliad, and the entire Odyssey. That's the one I probably like the most, just because it's simple and makes sense to me. The other ones, I think they came after, based on how different the Odyssey and the Iliad are. Which the theories is that Homer is a culmination. I don't know if I'm saying that right, of different people.
Yeah.
And it's like the voice of the people throughout time. So it's and it kind of makes sense because if you see what the Iliad is doing, maybe there's people who don't know anything about this. So it starts off in the middle of the Trojan War.
Mhm.
So I think it's called in Latin in media. Y tenía mis notas, bro. Classic. In media res, and I'm probably butchering it, but you start in the middle of the story,
Gotcha.
which is something that a lot of postmodern books do. Like Stephen King does that a lot.
Ah, okay.
I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and he does that. I don't want to get off track, but so this starts in the when Achilles in the rage of Achilles with Agamemnon. But this war has been going on. I believe it starts in the middle of the war,
Mhm.
and it starts because of Helen. Paris takes Helen,
Yes.
which I think in book 3 gets interesting because she regrets it. I didn't catch that the first time, which is very obvious. I don't know why I didn't catch that. But anyway, Paris takes Helen from Menelaus,
Mhm.
which is Agamemnon's brother, which is the king of the Achaeans. And that's when the war starts. And a lot of warriors, a lot of people in the story don't like Helen and Paris. They hate Paris as well.
Mm.
Like even the Trojans, they
Yeah.
hate Paris. They hate Paris a lot because think about it. Your brother, your cousin, your friend.
Yeah.
We're recording, yeah. They're dying because of this one individual, just
Yeah.
because he stole this person's wife. Which, if you think about it, they're in the right to be mad. I mean, come on, you stole his wife, so
Plus, then we have all this war.
yeah. And especially if you think about like how prideful they were,
Yeah.
like that's even nowadays, like you can't do that. I mean, you do that, and that's horrible. Like
Yeah.
anyone would be mad, but especially of someone in the status of Menelaus. So of course,
Mhm.
you know, it makes sense that this whole war started because of that.
Yeah.
Um, so Helen, which is Lupita, ¿cómo se llama? Lupita Nyong'o.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
You're like,
Oh, look.
dude, what? Yeah, you didn't know she's Helen?
What?
Yeah, she's gonna be Helen and
Oh, in the movie.
yeah,
I got you.
without you didn't know that seriously?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's gonna be Helen. So it doesn't make sense, of course.
I don't know who's Lupita though.
Lupita Nyong'o, I'm probably butchering that. Yeah, she was born. She's an African American
Oh, yes, I
actress.
saw the picture.
She's very good.
Yeah.
She's very good, but it just doesn't make sense given that you
Yeah.
know. But yeah. So and then we're gonna have Ellen Page,
Oh yeah. No, Elliot Page.
Elliot Page. Yeah, you're right.
Elliot Page,
Elliot Page as Achilles.
What I think it's more surprising the Elliot Page as Achilles
Yeah,
than Lupita because
yeah, you're right.
Achilles is portrayed as these. I mean, the manliest man, the best of the best. I think also it's also mentioned that he's gorgeous and
Yeah,
athletic, and
yeah.
I think it's also the fastest. One of the guys that
The-
run fast. They
yeah.
call him,
The Swift foot.
Yeah.
Swift foot Achilles. That's
Yeah.
man. I think that's called an epithet.
oh
When
yeah, what
it-
to describe?
yeah, and they do that a lot. Like
Yeah.
Hector, breaker of horses.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they do it with Athena. I forget which one they use for Athena. But yeah, yeah. Okay, I want to stay focused. Okay, that's the Odyssey though. So whatever. Actually, those characters play a way bigger role here. Way bigger role here than the Odyssey.
Gotcha.
Way bigger role. So yeah. So going back to Homer, that's the theory. You know that it's not just one man. It's a culmination of different people,
Yeah.
maybe throughout time. We don't really know. We don't have a lot of information on Homer,
Mhm.
so we don't really know. I like to think there's also another theory that he's blind, and as he's a bard, right? So he's going around different cities or villages,
Mhm.
telling the story of the Iliad,
Yeah.
and that is true. There was a lot of bards in the time of Homer, right?
Uh-huh.
So that is a good. I believe there's some good, not evidence, but like there's some good. It does back it up, like the research that the historians have done that he was a bard. So I don't know where they got that he was blind, but the idea is that he had someone scribing everything. So he didn't write it down. Someone else did it for him.
Gotcha. Mhm.
Who knows? Yeah. Anything you like to say about Homer?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how they have different theories about whether it's one guy or many.
Yeah.
Because also, like I think in the intro they mentioned, and I didn't take notes for that part, but one of the ways where they thought, oh yes, this is a different person is by the way like it's written, right? Like there were some books that don't fit the exact, not narrative, but I guess the momentum of the story that seem a little bit different and might have been
Yes. Yeah. That's very true.
afterward.
That's very true. Yeah. Yeah.
But then there are others that see that yes, it's normal because because a lot of this was oral. You can change also a lot of the rhythm based on emotions, and so these are poems, right? And it doesn't make sense to have things sound differently based on the, I guess, the method of expressing those emotions and things like that, right? Um, and also, I mean, we can read it in a month or so, or yeah, or maybe less, and somebody else can write something as long as this today fairly easily, especially for an experienced writer. But if you think about the methods of writing back then, which are more complex, I think it makes sense to have also different people writing it.
Yeah.
Maybe like same author, but different people,
Yeah.
helping write. And you can see some of the differences.
The only thing though, I think that, oh, man, I really want a cigar or something. We should have bought some.
We can
Anyway,
go buy it. We can
true,
right.
true. Well, maybe in the break or something.
Yeah.
I hope they don't close. So when you said a writer today can write this, okay.
Not these, but like something as long as this.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
But back then, it wasn't an easy thing to do.
No.
I guess
Well,
it probably was something that had never been done before, maybe.
Yeah.
Especially with the magnitude of the poem.
yeah,
Especially like they're doing some type of like, not papyrus, but something similar to that, where the actual writing takes more skill rather than just like typing in a typewriter or just like super easy.
okay. So you're talking about like the practice of actually writing.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant like writing like the content and
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, no, yeah, I mean,
like the actual process of writing. Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, because I was gonna say, because the idea with Homer, I mean, if you think about what's going on with him, this, I think we're going, this has lasted what 3,000 years.
Uh-huh.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
The fact that we're still talking about this, like it's the oldest story in the West. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like that to me is just, I can't even make sense out of that. That's crazy. But what I was gonna say is, it's basic. Like for example, I mentioned Stephen King.
Mhm.
I love Stephen King. I know real life maybe he can be annoying, whatever, but I think he is a great writer. I think he is a genius. But like even someone like him, if you ask me, are his books gonna last more than 500 years?
Mm,
I'm more inclined to say no.
gotcha.
They're not gonna last because they're very for this time and very
Yeah.
individualized, which they're great. They're great reads. Like they're very American and very for I guess like 21st century readers and 20th century readers as well, because he's been writing since the 80s, I believe, or 70s.
Mm.
But what I'm trying to say is like, since this story has been around even before Homer was alive, even before Homer was
Yeah. Uh-huh.
wrote it down, this is a very it has a lot of symbolism in it. ¿Qué dijo? ¿Que si queremos más?
No, I
Ajá.
think it was somebody.
It has a lot of. No quiero que pase lo que pasó en el otro bar, que no vengan,
Sí.
pero ni modo. So it has a lot of. It's very condensed. It's not worried about the particulars. It's very for example, you and I can read this
Mhm.
and we derive some meaning, and of course we're not professionals, so there's so many things you can take out of this that maybe we're not even thinking about. But like it's very what's the right word?
It's timeless in a way.
Yeah, and it worries about the right things, and it tells you where this culture was
Yeah.
in that time,
Uh-huh.
at that time, and it tells you what they were worrying about and the questions they had. You see what I'm saying?
And and it's also like the things that the story deals with, they are very linked to like human nature. I feel like that's why it's so. I
Yeah.
think that's why it's able to persist in history. Just
Yeah,
because like it's dealing with a lot of emotions like rage and love and respect, pride, things like that are very like
what's a leader?
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah,
Versus other stories like today,
yeah,
like for example, like the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, like it's very linked to the stock market.
yeah.
Uh,
That's not gonna
if in
last.
the future there's no stock market, then it's like what?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because I guess in that situation, like for example, there is money here.
Yeah,
There is, or some type of currency, but in that situation of Wall Street, it's very individualized, very particular.
Mhm.
It's very for its time.
yeah,
You know, you're right. Like in 100 years, maybe 200 years, yeah, maybe it'll still last, but maybe I would say it's not gonna last 1,000 years.
yeah,
It's because our art is very individualized. Like,
Mhm.
what do they tell you when you're a kid? Express yourself. Do this. Do that.
yeah,
The ancients had no idea what that was
yeah,
because to them it was they all participated in this one story.
yeah,
You know, and maybe some people were more talented, like in the case of Homer, when it came to storytelling. But
Gotcha, yeah.
it's not like maybe he did. I'm pretty sure he did include or excluded certain things to make it
Appeal
make
a
sense.
little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or it makes sense for his time particularly.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. It makes sense for his time, particularly, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, for example, with fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
A fairy tale is it's passed down through generations, and that's when you know if a fairy tale lasts within like maybe 4 or 5 generations, you know it's good. But every generation adds a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
So, like for example, I've always said okay, I'm bringing it back. I swear. I'm trying to say. But for example, I love Walt Disney, and I love like the man himself and what he did, but also like the old Disney, right? Um, right now it's a whole different thing. But I'm talking about like the old Disney.
Yeah.
What they managed to do, especially with like Snow White and even Pinocchio, he managed to keep the essence of the old story, but bring it in to I wouldn't say a modern audience, but like bring it into this time and still keep it true to the old
Yeah.
story
Uh-huh.
while it makes sense to our time.
Yeah.
You know? So he did change several things. He did change a lot of things, but it's very in true to the story.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt that Homer did the same thing. Like I'm pretty sure that the original forms of the oral story of the Iliad, I'm pretty sure they were different from what we're reading right now.
Yeah.
The reason why we are reading this is because he actually wrote it down.
Yeah.
He was the first one to write it
Yeah.
down. So that's I guess like that's the difference between his time and writers in our day. And I think once you like, I actually think this is very important. If you understand this, you're going to understand the ancients a bit more because you go to Barnes and Nobles, right? And you have like these stories from one that came from one individual. And I think that's awesome. There's nothing, you know, you have Dostoevsky, you have even Dante, you have a lot of people legends who knew how to bring in the bigger story of the West into their particular story. So it's possible, like, and they've lasted, you know, years.
Yeah.
So it's possible, but like the way the ancients told stories, and even the biblical stories, it was an oral tradition. It was passed down
Yeah.
generation through generation. So sorry, I think I'm talking a lot, but yeah, it's just like I guess the point I'm trying to make is Homer was part of the I guess like the first Western tradition, and I guess you can say, well, he initiated it, he started it, and in a way, I'm not saying he thought about this, but through his works, he invited everyone else to participate in the story of the West.
Yeah.
Because through this story, he's bringing in the old, the story of the Trojan War, and he's questioning, in a lot of ways, he's questioning the gods and the role they play. He's bringing in the question of free will versus determinism.
Yeah. That's true.
That's all over the book.
Yeah.
All over the book. So it's interesting. Like he's already questioning the gods, and you know, I know you're a Catholic as well. So, but essentially, he's opening the story for Christ. It's very interesting because, and we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
Because he's laying the foundation. He's laying the groundwork, and it's already the Greeks were already, if we're going based off like what's going on in the Iliad and the Odyssey, they're already questioning, or they're at least at the very least they're questioning their relationship with their gods.
Yeah.
You know,
You can see it a lot. Yes.
yeah, a lot. Yes, but yeah, and then when Plato comes around, and then especially when Socrates,
Mm-hmm.
Socrates is flat out questioning them, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe Plato is as well, but like Christ is already around the corner. Christ is already coming. So that's why when Saint Paul says Christ comes in the fullness of time,
Mm-hmm.
because he's come to fulfill the Old Testament, and he's come to fulfill the old myths, the old
Gotcha.
Greek myths,
Yeah.
and it's almost like he fulfills the Roman law as well. So that's what, like these three, which is like he fulfills the Greek myth,
Mm-hmm.
the Roman law, and the Hebrew morality.
Gotcha.
You know, that's the idea. At least I got from I think Bishop Barron said this,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm not mistaken, Saint Paul, that's what he actually meant when he said,
Gotcha. Yeah. They was fulfilling the
yeah,
myth.
he comes in the fullness of time. So that's why I used to ask myself, why did he come in that particular time? Like, why not now? Why or not in the 90s or like?
Right.
And there's stupid, but like I think the point is like why not through in the Renaissance? Why not in another time?
Yes.
Like why in that time specifically?
Mhm.
And what Saint Paul says is he comes in the fullness of time
Gotcha. Yeah.
because of these different cultures.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's a long way of saying Homer started the Western canon.
Yeah.
I guess you can say.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And you can see how, like, the way he's talking about the gods as they are flawed and starting to say, hey, almost like saying, why do we trust these guys? They're just like us, just
Yeah.
basically enhanced.
Yeah.
And also, you can see the connection between like the gods and the heroes, like, for example, Achilles being a man that's mortal, right? But destined for glory, right? And that's a little bit similar to what we have, like in Catholicism about man, that even though we're destined to die here on earth, based on our beliefs and the things that we do, uh, we can achieve like eternal glory. Similar to, I guess, in a way, a little bit. I mean, very different, but
Yeah.
probably the Greeks back then would see it a little bit similar to
Yeah.
something in a grander scheme.
Well, they, for example, their view of the gods, the way they see it is the and man, I hope I'm right about this. I might be a little bit mistaken, but the gods are they don't really care about them.
Yeah.
Which is very different from like the Hebrew
Yeah.
understanding.
Mhm.
Like and there's even like a hierarchy
Yeah.
amongst the gods. Like some gods are lesser.
Uh-huh.
You have obviously Kronos, and then which I'm kind of confused about this. Zeus overtakes his own father,
Uh-huh.
so it makes me wonder like, okay, then what is Kronos? Okay, you overtake him, but like what is going on there?
Right. Yeah.
But so anyway, there's even like hierarchy amongst the gods,
Mhm.
and like for example, I think the major difference is like between the Hebrews and the Greeks is they, man, because you see it in the Old Testament whenever you know the way they commune and the way they see God is very there's a lot of reverence.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of I would say fear, like the right kind of fear, the right kind of respect. And over here, like a lot of them, they don't really respect some gods. They respect
Yeah.
other gods more than
Yeah.
and even some gods are like, for example, you have some gods who favor the Trojans, and then others favor
Yeah.
the
It's like,
Achilles.
these are my guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But even
very-
them, they don't even care. Like there's a part, I think it's in book 4. I think it was Athena or Hera talking to Zeus, telling him that yeah, why do you want the Trojans, etc. I like these guys, but if it were for you, I would just throw them away for you.
yeah,
It's like okay,
yeah, yeah.
and these are the people like doing the sacrifices
Yeah.
for her and stuff.
And
But it's like for them, it's just
Yeah.
like a play. There's I think I wrote somewhere here that's like, so it's just a game for them.
Yeah.
This is just a Hera.
and I think even when like, sorry, go finish your
So-
thought. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's just like Hera. It says the 3 cities that I love the best of all are Argos and Sparta and Mycene. But I will never rise in their defense, not against you. It's like,
Yeah. Which is interesting, because I wonder how they got there, like which gods favor which tribe. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But any other ideas on Homer, like the man himself?
yeah. No, just that there's a lot of like theories out there about whether it's one man, multiple men, but ultimately what's important is, I guess,
Yeah.
what we have, and we say that it's Homer, whether it's many or not, but at least we know for sure that these books, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, have been shaping like the West, by the
Yeah.
last few thousand years.
Yeah.
Like I also mentioned in the introduction, like you can see how some of the biggest writers that we have, like Aquinas, and many others, that you can see some of the influence, at least in the writing, of how the Iliad is written. So that's something very important, because even though it might not be, it might be, maybe not, shaping it intellectually, it's definitely shaping the way these authors are expressing themselves, right? Um, so it's very important, because also, even though you cannot only care about like the substance, but also how it's being delivered. It also plays a big role in how it's either accepted or revoked. But yeah, for sure, I think the most important part, I would say, when it comes to Homer, is that we do have the Iliad, we do have the Odyssey, and these have been shaping us
Yeah.
since forever.
Yeah, and also, like, if you come to him with a sense of respect, in
Yeah,
the sense of, I've heard this before, like you treat him as a teacher.
yeah.
So I don't know. In my opinion, I don't care if it was one person or multiple
Yeah.
people. I think that's besides the point. Because like the idea of Homer and
Yeah.
and what this actually is, like, this is actually
Yeah.
this is extremely impressive.
Yeah.
The
It
fact
is.
that we have this now after 3,000 years,
Mhm.
and it's we're at a point where, like, we have so much knowledge at our disposal. Like, if you don't know
Yeah.
what anything means, you can just Google it.
Yeah.
You can have different perspectives. Also mentioning the Western canon, the canon rather.
Mhm.
I remember I went to the Vatican, and they had, if I'm not mistaken, they had, like, obviously they had the Greek gods, and even like the Romans and the Greeks had the same gods, but they also, I think they had Achilles as well, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that, but I know maybe to the Protestant mind, they might think that's wrong, and I can see why.
Mhm.
Why would they have different gods?
Yeah.
Why would they have different gods in the Vatican?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is because what we just talked about, they opened the West.
Yeah.
They opened this great I don't want to say literature, but this great exploration rather through these texts,
Mhm.
which is, like, if you really sit and think about that, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because another thing we didn't mention, these people, like, when it comes to these tribes, they're literally coming out of like hunter gatherer era. Like,
Yeah.
well, maybe not literally, but
And
they are very, very, very ancient. Like it's very tribal.
Yeah.
You know, I think we kind of see Achilles like from the movie, and he's all like he looks all clean, and maybe he did, you know,
yeah.
but and maybe he was meant to be viewed that way, but they're coming off of a very tribal time, and you can tell by, you know, there's war and horrible deaths
Yeah.
in these pages.
And they're pretty much living in war camps all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, back a little bit back to what you said about the Vatican. I think maybe also that I wouldn't say that, but yeah, they're worried a lot about like their glory, right?
Yeah.
As a warrior, as a man.
Yeah, like I think one of the greatest aspect of Achilles, he has the opportunity to um, either, you know, die a hero and go, and he knows
Ah, yes, a short life.
a short
As a
life,
hero.
but as a hero and conquers Hector. I mean, well, kills him, or a life of, you know, pleasure and
Yeah.
like
He
real
chooses
pleasure,
the-
because I mean it's Achilles, so he's
Yeah.
gonna have everything he wants, and he decides to, you know, go to war and
Yeah.
live a
A
honorable
short life, but with glory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Should we get into book one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Book one.
So we talked about this last time, but we'll talk about it again. I really like Achilles, and a lot of people criticize Achilles, and they say he's not a good character. He is a tragic figure at the end, but I think that
As a character, he's amazing.
he is amazing, and I think we like him because we're Mexican. I really do think that.
Yeah.
Because
Questioning the status quo.
dude, and it made, I went to a restaurant and I saw chilaquiles, and it made me think like, did we name him after Achilles? Because I've heard a lot of criticism against Achilles, and especially like there's a lot of Catholics that don't like him, and I can see why. But as I read the Iliad, I mean, he's probably my favorite. I really like this guy. He's amazing, and I think I like. And maybe this is the ego in me that wants to be him. I don't know, but I like how he. Oh man, I think we talked about this, but remember the idea of the Ubermensch,
Uh,
like the man who kind of like operates outside of
yes.
morality.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know that might not be good within the Christian
Yeah.
point of view. It's not good, but I really something about like when certain men do it
Yeah.
and they do it for the good. I'm not saying he did it for the good all the time,
Yeah.
but like whenever, you know, certain rules don't apply to certain people
Yeah.
and they use it for good, I really admire that, and I think I admire that about Achilles because I mean, he's half god in the story. He's half god, so he kind of by definition, if you want to apply like the Nietzsche perspective,
Yeah.
he's an Ubermensch. Like the morality of men do not apply to him.
Yeah.
It's like when Agamemnon tells him, out of all the people who are loved by the gods the most, I hate you the most.
Oh yes.
He's basically saying like you're out of everyone.
Yeah.
You're blessed.
Yeah.
You know, even perhaps you're even more blessed than me,
Mhm.
and I still hate you. So Achilles is viewed by that. Sorry, Achilles is viewed like that by the men,
Yeah.
by the Achaeans, which is basically the Greeks,
Mhm.
and by even himself. Like he knows who he is.
Yeah.
And obviously he knows who he is, and he knows what he's capable
Yeah.
of.
It's like when a player is good and he knows he's good.
Yeah. He's like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So should we break down what happened in the story in book one, or should we just like should we break down exactly what happens, or should we just get into it and leave the listeners?
Pues, podemos hablar. Maybe we can talk about as like the key points.
Or as we go on? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. So it starts off with the rage of Achilles, and these are the very famous words that start off the Iliad. Rage goddess, seeing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles. Murderous doomed that cost. So I'm assuming doomed because he's doomed to his death.
Yeah.
Doomed that, spoiler alert, sorry, that cost the Achaeans countless losses, hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls, great fighter souls, but made their bodies carrion. Feast for the dogs and birds, and the will of Zeus was moving towards its end. So,
You know, it's also weird, like how, maybe spoiler alert, how when it starts, it's saying that, oh, he caused the Achaeans countless losses, but at the end, I mean, if you think about it, it was just Helen.
oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I know, of course, what he ends up
Yeah,
asking for things to happen and things
yeah,
like that. But at the same time, like, as it follows, we can see that one of the biggest problems that comes here is like the priest of Apollo from the Trojans coming to the Achaeans, asking for his daughter back, Chrysis. And then Agamemnon saying, "Nope, I'm not giving her. She's my prize. Be thankful that I'm not killing you. Please leave." And then basically refusing the priest his daughter. But then this priest goes to Apollo and starts praying for, you know, bad things to happen to the Achaeans. And there's an amazing part here where you can see Ares coming here, Apollo coming, starting with the dogs, the animals, then with the men, and then the Achaeans start seeing that stuff is happening. Hey, we need to figure out what's going on. And then there's a seer who tells them what's going on, which you can see Agamemnon saying, "Oh, you're always talking about me. I hate you." Like already complaining rather
yeah,
than. I feel like when you have a good leader, rather than complaining,
yeah,
he solves problem. But this guy is
yeah.
complaining a lot.
I don't like Agamemnon, and
Yeah,
even though he is good in a lot of ways, but
he complains a lot.
and I don't like him because of the movie too. Because whenever,
uh,
have you seen the movie?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, I watched it when I was like five, six
Maybe
years
you
old,
should watch it
maybe.
when you're done with this book because it gets a lot of things right, and it's very good for modern audiences.
I
So
feel like they
like,
got Brad Pitt right for Achilles.
to yes, I totally agree. So again, so like for example, we're saying a lot of like spoiler alerts and whatever, but something we didn't mention, and I'll just say really quick.
Mhm.
Whenever the bards told the story,
Uh-huh.
the audience already know what was going to happen. They already knew
Oh,
this war and how it ended and the
yeah.
major characters. So it was just like like if I'm not mistaken, it would take like a few weeks to tell this. Oh, sorry, a few days to tell the story. So it was like a big party they would have,
Mm.
and a lot of people that would hear these stories were either related directly or like through maybe like I'm not sure if directly actually, but like maybe
I mentioned there are
through
like some
name,
names,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
names, or maybe they're from the same city, or things of that nature. So it's like if a very cool character is from Bronzeville,
Ah, okay, yeah.
and they mention the character, and then he represents all of us. So we're like, yeah,
Gotcha,
if
yeah.
they come and tell that
Or in the
story,
movie, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
gotcha.
So that's okay. I want to get ahead of myself, but basically, that's you have
Mhm.
to keep that in mind when you're reading this book. Like it was told orally. Um, so begin news when the two first broke and clashed. So it starts right when Achilles and Agamemnon are battling each other verbally. So something that made me think about this is so whenever it says whenever the two first broke and clashed, it makes me think that they actually either had respect for one another before,
Mm.
or at least Achilles did, or they at least hadn't clashed this way
Ah,
because
okay.
it says when they first broke and clashed. So I'm not. I just found that interesting when I read it this time around. And then yeah, you mentioned the priest. Let's see here. So basically, okay, yeah, we'll just talk about the major points. Is okay. I'm gonna be honest, people. I find this not a little bit drag because we already talked about this. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
we'll have to talk about it again, Nemo. So basically, they pillaged the village,
Hmm.
and the top players. I mean, like the people, the men at the top of the hierarchy.
Yeah, like the
Keep
generals, the
yeah. They don't
kings.
really mention that, but it
Yeah.
isn't like an understanding that they keep the woman, or at least like the prettier woman. And
Yeah. There's actually a part, yeah, when they say about Ajax, this is what prize, and Odysseus prize,
yeah, you're
and
right.
like
Yeah,
they're very fair.
you're right. You're right.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Achilles is, um, but then I guess Agamemnon's being like I guess the prettiest of them all. I don't know. I don't know if they choose or it's like like first come first serve
Who
for
knows?
those guys.
That's the thing.
Um,
That's the thing. Like going back to what we were saying about Homer versus um, modern writers, is that that doesn't really matter.
mhm.
You see what I mean? Like a modern writer would have, made a critique on,
Yeah.
but even though there is
Yeah.
a lot to criticize, I'm not saying there's not.
Mhm.
Of course, that's wrong. But in the eyes of Homer, in the eyes of the ancients, it doesn't really matter because it doesn't really push the story forward, and
Yeah.
it's very they don't need to take a 101 class,
Yeah.
story writing class to understand that
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah. It's
really
like
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. But it's kind of like
Mhm.
it's common sense,
Yeah. And also you can see that mainly the main reason why Agamemnon doesn't want to give up his prize is just pride alone. Like,
Yeah,
hey, I'm the king. Why do I have to give up my
yeah,
prize? Right? You give it up.
yeah. So before we get there, so what happens is they each take their prize, and Achilles is with the Achaeans. He's
Hmm.
a part of the same group with Agamemnon, and Agamemnon takes the daughter of a priest for Apollo,
Hmm.
which is on the Trojan side,
Yeah.
and he asks for her. The priest asks for his daughter back, and Agamemnon pretty much tells him, "You can go F yourself." That's pretty
Yeah.
much what he says, and the priest then asks for the intercession of Apollo,
Yeah.
which Apollo does make an appearance,
Hmm.
which is a very terrifying scene because it says that he kneels down right next to their camp and just starts shooting them,
Yeah.
which is terrifying to see. Like imagine a god just doing that. That's
Yeah.
terrifying. And which makes you think. Imagine how Achilles looks.
9 days. 9 days, the arrows of God swept through the
Yeah,
army. Like,
that's in 9 days. That's very
and on the
specific.
10th, Achilles called all the ranks to muster. Like,
Yeah,
hey, bro,
yeah,
there's
mucho.
something going on.
Yeah, and yeah, so Achilles, right? That's why he always strikes me as someone who, even for this time, he always had some type of morality because, yeah, Achilles called all ranks to muster, and I wrote down he's acting like the leader. So it's Achilles who does it first,
Yeah.
not Agamemnon, which I think pisses off Agamemnon
Yeah.
because I think Agamemnon probably thought, man, I should have thought of that first.
Yeah.
Agamemnon probably saw how everyone else was agreeing with Achilles, and he
Mhm.
probably thought, man, it should have been me,
Yeah.
not Achilles. Um, so yes, Achilles, he goes with you mentioned it before, he goes with the seer, and the seer tells him that if they don't put a stop to it, it's going to be worse, right? If I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
that's what happens, right? More people are going to die,
Yeah.
more Achaeans, which is, if you think about it, it's not really beneficial to
Mhm.
Agamemnon because of
But
he's going to lose men.
the seer basically tells all the rest of the guys, hey, the problem is because this guy didn't want to give up his prize. And I guess that's also one of the reasons why Agamemnon gets mad because he's basically being called out by the
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, you're
Like,
right. Yeah,
hey, we're all in trouble because of this guy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so now he has Achilles being the one that's standing up first to like muster the people to see if they can solve the problem, and then when they find out the problem, hey, it's Agamemnon. And you can see it in him, like that's why I mentioned it earlier. Like, as a leader, I feel like you should be solving problems rather than complaining about them. And it looks a lot like Agamemnon is like not looking too much forward into the future, like um, especially like in the case of these guys. In here the gods are real, like they're not a myth. In here, like in the story,
Yeah.
they're real. So if you have a priest of God coming to ask you for something, it's probably um, not just any guy, right? So you might have to think about saying no to them in a better way, because he just didn't also say no. He's like, be glad I didn't kill you,
Yeah.
out here, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah,
This looks delicious.
Agamemnon is being called out by the seer that this is happening because Agamemnon doesn't want to give up his prize. And then I think it's Achilles, the one that says, "Hey man, just give it up. We're all in trouble. Save your people." But these guys, no, you give it up. Also acting like a child, like, no, why do I have to give it up? Like, um, and then they're even saying, "Hey, we're gonna pay you tenfold in the future. Just do it for now." Um, and then he's like, why not Odysseus' prize? Why not Ajax? Why not yours?" And well, eventually they end up taking Achilles, right? Um, but yeah.
Mm. Where it says, whenever Agamemnon backtracks a bit, he's
Mhm.
like, what I really want is to keep my people safe, not see them dying.
Mhm.
I wrote down Cap. I think he's,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe he does. He is being honest here, but I think he sort of wants to be like Achilles in the sense of
Mhm.
like, oh man, I wish I thought of that first. And dice, okay, so it does seem like Achilles is being, like you said, he is being reasonable. He does tell him like, hey, we can pay you back, 10 times more later on. Just do what
Mhm.
this god says, and no more men are gonna
Mhm.
die. And the anger starts with Achilles. So this is on page 82. Perhaps he's the only one who can. This is where he starts giving pushback to Agamemnon. Mm, dude, and even if you think about it, Achilles says the Trojans never did me damage. So he's even
Wow.
yeah, that's interesting. He's blaming his own people, like
Mhm.
Agamemnon, and
Yeah.
which I don't know. I think that's you're talking about the enemy here,
Yeah.
and you're blaming your own people before the enemy. And it says no. Menelaus and you dog face. What do you care? So this is where he starts being angry, and then he starts questioning the hierarchy. He says, "My honors never equal yours. Whenever we sack some wealthy Trojan stronghold, my arms bear the brunt of the raw, savage fighting. True, but when it comes to dividing up the plunder, sorry, dividing up the plunder, the lion's share is yours. And I go back to my ships, clutching some scrap, some pittance that I love, when I have fought to exhaustion." So he's saying, I'm doing all your work,
Yeah.
and I end up with nothing, and
And
you
you
end up with
take,
everything.
yeah.
So, you know, imagine being like half God, and you still have to follow the orders of a man.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That
And you're the one doing the work.
And you're the one
Yeah.
doing the work. This God is just ruling over you. I mean, sorry, this man is just,
Yeah.
you're a God, and you have this one man ruling over you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I feel like a lot of like working people can relate to this scene where it's like, hey, you're doing all the work, and then this other guy just takes
that's a
the
good
credit.
point. Yeah, you're right.
Like, oh, he got the promotion, and I'm the one who did everything.
Mm.
Like, I mean, that happens a lot in the workforce, right? Um,
But
and it's something that's like we said it earlier, that it's like timeless. You see that even happening right now. I'm not saying that there's people. Well, I mean, there's people that might think of themselves like a demigod. Um, but talking about the lion's share thing, and me doing all the work and things like that.
yeah, yeah. Mm. No, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't make that connection. That's a good point. That is very true. If you see what Agamemnon is doing, and like you have to, like we have to admit, he is pretty smart because he does know how to keep command and he knows how to play the part because,
Yeah,
like from his perspective, he's dealing with a half god.
that's true.
Like
Yeah,
he's dealing with a half god.
yeah.
So at any
Even though
point,
he's the king, he knows he's not dealing just with another guy.
yeah, because imagine if you were like, "Hey, man, this guy's oh, you know what, guys? Achilles is right. Obviously, the men are gonna start questioning his authority.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
I think we were mentioning last time when we recorded
we
this
did.
that you don't see Odysseus or anybody else talking like that to Agamemnon. Achilles is the only one that say,
He's the
"Hey,
only one. Yeah,
I don't care, you're the king." You know, well, this guy's a
yeah,
demigod, right?
yeah. And for
Um,
example, I do believe like if Odysseus wanted to,
yeah,
he could do that. But Odysseus is a man, and Odysseus does
yeah,
he play ball, so to
yeah,
say. So Odysseus is a general, and he's loyal.
yeah. That's true.
In that
Yeah,
sense,
mhm,
Achilles is not.
yeah,
Achilles is out for himself,
yeah.
which does make him like a James.
He's not portrayed also like in the ranks.
Yeah,
He's not portrayed like Odysseus, where Odysseus is a king, right?
yeah, he is.
Achilles is like he's saying he goes back to the ship, right? He doesn't have like his own camp or something like that, where, or maybe he does, but
Oh, I see what you're saying.
maybe he's not like kind of like we say like he's like standing outside like of like, the morale, but he's also standing outside of like everything
Yeah,
else.
because his dad is not a king.
Yeah.
His dad is a god. Wait,
Oh, his mom.
or no, his mom, and
Yeah.
his dad Peleus is not the god. Yeah, his mom is a god. So yeah, I mean, yeah, where is he from? And they mention in I think in book 2,
Think so. Yeah.
but they don't mention him as a king. You're right.
Yeah. I
'Cause
don't
that was the
think
point
so,
you were
yeah.
making, right? O sea,
Yeah, like him not being in the almost like he doesn't care about what status he has.
yeah. Mm.
I might be wrong though. He might have like a
Procter and
like
Hall.
an amazing rank. I don't know, but it truly doesn't seem like because he's talking about like the lion's share and all that. But I think it sounds more because like his work, what he's doing, right? Not so much. Although, well, he's talking about he wants glory, so he might care about ranks. So not sure. Or maybe his version of glory is not tied to a title. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I don't remember seeing like King Achilles, and even like
Yeah.
we don't really think about him as a king.
Yeah. You see him as a warrior, right? Like
He's kind of like a. I'm sure you have friends like this who are like single. They can do whatever they want. They really somehow like they're traveling and
I kind of seem like when in those movies where you have like a general, right? But then you have these badass Navy SEAL,
he's like a Navy
like
SEAL.
like that. He's one of those in those movies that you have like a general very distinguished, but then you have these Jason Bourne type of character that's he's not in the same rank, but he's pretty much the hero of the story.
Agamemnon. He is a. I still think he's a smart man in the way he handles Achilles because in a situation like this, like what else can you do? You have two
Yeah.
options: either let Achilles take over,
Mm-hmm.
or because eventually he will take over. Because, in my opinion, at least, because people are gonna, like the men are gonna question Agamemnon's authority
Yeah.
if he admits that Achilles was right and that he has like the better judgment or
Yeah.
more power, right? So the way he handles it is he just starts valuing him. He starts. If I'm not mistaken, he does insult him. Yeah, I hate you. I hate you most of all, the warlords loved by the gods. Basically calling him talented, but he's like, I really don't like you. I dislike you.
Yeah.
You are nothing to me. You and your overweening anger, which is funny because Agamemnon was the one who started this.
Yeah.
So even though it's like the rage of Achilles, It's like Agamemnon.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to flip it, in a way.
Hmm, let's see. So this is where I was confused. I thought it was his mom who made the intercession, but it's
Ah,
Athena.
mm-hmm.
Her gray eyes clear. The goddess Athena answered, "Down from the skies, I come to you. Check your rage, if only you will yield." So he's ready to kill. Achilles is ready to kill Agamemnon, but he is stopped by Athena. So, and he complied. And he says, if a man obeys the gods, they're quick to hear his prayers.
Mm-hmm.
So he complies. He's like, okay, take the girl. And then Nestor, which is funny because Nestor's kind of like he's old in the story, but he's kind of like a war figure in the sense of, he says, like, back in my day, men were
Yeah.
stronger. Men like this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Two leaders fighting like this
Mm-hmm.
is unheard of. And then, yeah, so he goes on this whole spiel. Something I found interesting while Nestor is talking, which pretty much, he's saying like, men nowadays are different, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Achilles is quiet the whole time, which is
Yeah.
another reason why I like him. Like I don't know, he seems like a cool character.
Yeah.
Like he's letting the old guy speak, and then Agamemnon, and then even Nestor is saying Achilles, get in line, like, hey,
Mm.
follow the hierarchy. This guy's in charge.
Yeah.
Essentially, it says no one can match the honors dealt a king. And then Achilles doesn't interrupt him, and then Agamemnon is the one who interrupts, saying, true old man, all you say is fit and proper, but this soldier wants to tower over the armies. He wants to rule over all, which I don't think is what he wants.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he wants.
I don't think so either.
I think,
I think this guy Achilles just wants to solve the problem of the people being killed. Like I see this Apollo coming here and killing everyone. They just put a stop to it. Not so much as to I want to put the stop to it so I can be the king, right? No, go ahead. Um,
oh, so good.
yeah, of course he wants some glory, maybe being the one that solves the problem, but not as to being the one to take the position of the king, right? Um, but Agamemnon, obviously, because he cares about his position, um, he knows that it can be jeopardized, right? If people see him not as the king, right? As instead of they see Achilles as being the savior, then it's like, okay, my position is vulnerable, right?
Hmm. Yeah, because like naturally, obviously the men they're gonna want to follow
Yeah.
the greatest leader.
Um.
And here's the thing, though, I don't really see Achilles. He's not really. I guess he would be like a Sigma male, like what people call Sigma males, because he's not really a leader. And I don't think he sees himself as a leader, which it's interesting because I think he's just off after honor.
Yeah.
That's all he's after.
Yeah, I can see that too. Yeah.
Like, which is I that's why I like the character too, because I think that's what he cares about the most. At the end of the day, is how he's gonna be viewed
Yeah.
in history, which is crazy because we're talking about him now. And then, okay, so they sacrifice. Achilles accepts him taking the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, Agamemnon, what he does, what the, if I'm not mistaken, either the priest or the god Apollo asked him to do, which is sacrifice the animals, and then he's told, like, go and fetch the girl, go and get the girl from Achilles. So he sends two men. I wrote down Achilles is awesome because whenever they arrive to the island or wherever he is, I believe he's at some island. They reached Myrmidon shelters and their ships. They found him beside his lodge, and then Achilles knows that these men, these two men in particular that Agamemnon sent, have nothing against him. They're just following orders, so he's not going to kill them.
Oh, yeah, they're going to pick up the girl, right?
But they're terrified because
Yeah.
this guy can just kill them if he wants
Yeah.
to, and they understand that.
Oh,
And-
just wanted to read a part before.
Yeah, go ahead,
On
go
how Achilles
Dude, interrupt me whenever you
really
want.
doesn't. No, I don't say that he doesn't respect Agamemnon, but he doesn't care that he's a king. Like he's willing to step up when he says, "What a worthless, burnt out coward I'll be called if I would submit to you and all your orders. Whatever you blurt out, filling them at orders, don't give me commands."
What page is that?
It's in 87.
Yeah, ya lo vi.
So that's
He's pissed, bro.
like and it shows a lot like his character. That's like it's like a kind of like a force of nature, you know, like
Yeah.
Agamemnon is the king. He knows he's the king, but he's like, I don't care. You're the king. Like if I want to step up, I will step up, right? I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah,
Like he's
yeah. Yeah, no, and this obviously this is the rage
yeah,
the book is talking about. And then, but it's the rage towards Agamemnon.
yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure it's still recording. Okay, so yeah, those two men, Agamemnon sent, picks up the girl, and then we talked about this last time. The girl leaves, they take her, and then Achilles wept. I love that line.
And he even tells the guys, it's not your fault.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
he does.
it also shows some like way of him carrying himself, not fighting these guys because he knows that these guys are not really at fault. You know, they're just following orders, right?
Yeah.
Like they say that don't kill the messenger in a way, sort of. I mean, it's not a message, I know, that actually taking someone, but him killing them would not kill the person who's actually taking it, right?
Yeah, and it is in character because if you see the past few pages, like a few pages ago, he does say, you know, he steps up for them. He steps up for the men.
Yeah.
And how they're you know, they're just stupidly dying pretty much because of Agamemnon's reluctance to return the girl.
Yes, yeah.
So also something that stood out to me, because it is true. This this is what I mean. I have to like flesh out my ideas. So I've heard a lot of people say that Achilles does not care about the woman the way that, you know, a normal man would care about a girl he's going out with or your wife, or there's no love. There's no love there. And I do accept that. But this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, he tells Patroclus to return the girl, like to give him to the men. Patroclus, which is his cousin, Patroclus obeyed his great friend's command. Wait, they're not cousins?
It might be used as a.
You're right. I thought they were cousins. And then it says, Patroclus obeyed his great friend's command. He led Briseis in all her beauty from the lodge and handed her over to the men to take away. And the two walked back along the Argive ships, while she trailed on behind, reluctant. Now, two things. Either she's reluctant because she doesn't want to leave Achilles. I mean, think about it. He's the most beautiful man in the world, so maybe there's that. Which the movie does flesh out, by the way. They add more things, which is not in line with the book, but the movie does make it like more of a romantic thing.
Okay, gotcha.
But she could be reluctant.
It also kind of makes sense, a little sense, you know, like his rage. I mean, like her being taken away. I'm not saying that that's for sure the reason, but like when he says like she was hesitating all the way, kind of like opens it up. I don't know if it's also part of the poem to give some sort of like leave it to the imagination of the reader. You know.
But I mean, she could be reluctant because she's going back to, well, not back, but she's going to Agamemnon.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't want that. So maybe that's the reason why it's there. Maybe she prefers Achilles over.
Yeah, like the lesser.
Agamemnon. Yeah. Like maybe she's not necessarily like in love or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to to imagine. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's hard to imagine a woman not being attracted to a man who's half god. So maybe
Yeah, and a and a badass. You know?
he's a badass.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think we like him because he's Mexican. Because we're Mexican, not him. I think we like him because we're Mexican,
And that's what we call chilaquiles.
and that's why I found you. I think so. I really because dude, I see all these other podcasts
Uh-huh.
or like videos or lectures, and they don't really paint him in a good light. And then I read the book, and I was like, dude, he's awesome. I love Achilles. Okay.
You also see a lot of the heroes portrayed like in today's like action movies and things like that, where they do a lot of reckless stuff. Um, like, well, I'm gonna go way too off, but you can see it also a lot.
No,
Like,
say it. Say it.
like
It's
for
fine.
example, um, a little different, very different, but like Goku
Okay.
being like super crazy, starting a tournament,
No.
just because he wants to fight, putting all people in danger, right? And yeah, he ends up saving the people and all that, right? But you can see also like for example when they're like in the Marvel movies,
Yeah.
when they're having like a big fight in New York City, how many people do you think died in those buildings?
Of course.
You know?
Yeah. I always think about that when I
It's
watch the
like
movies.
there's probably a lot of casualties there, right? I don't know. I'm not saying he's the best guy, but as a character in a story, I think it's definitely very captivating. You know, like this guy being uh, demigod, being best fighter, you know, handsome, and being able to step up to a king. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not the best
And not
moral
just any
person.
king, like the
Yeah,
one king.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Maybe his moral compass is all over the place, but in terms of like uh, a person in this era where they care about glory and being a great fighter and being, you know, manly, right? It's probably one of those guys
Yeah.
that you see and like, oh man, this guy is amazing, right?
You know what? I kind of see
Because
that.
who wouldn't like to step up to a king, right? Like when he said about the lion's share, there's probably tons of people like
Who thinks
fighting in wars saying, hey, these guys are taking over, you
Yeah,
know?
but they don't say anything.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then this
they'll probably die.
you have these guys like the people's champ in a way.
Yeah.
Not saying he's the people's champ, but like kind of in a way, you know.
You know, you're right.
So
I mean, the other man would probably see it that way.
yeah,
The other man would, I think they would for sure see it that way. Um, he kind of, okay, maybe this is a good comparison, maybe not, but he kind of reminds me. Yeah, let's check if it's recording. He kind of reminds me of. I'm not sure if to call it a relationship or like. I guess yeah, it's a relationship when you grow up with a certain artist, you develop a relationship with at least their art.
Mhm.
But like with, for example, I used to be really attracted to Tupac, in the sense of like I just loved how he was like an outlaw. He was kind of like
okay.
he said what he thought. He would. It seemed like he would do what he wanted to do, and even the way he died, it seemed like he. It seems like I know it's wrong. It's wrong to say, but it seems like a heroic death in some way. Like
Mm.
he lived by the raps. I guess
Okay,
you
I
can say
got
that.
you.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there like that, like in the public sphere, where like as I grow older, maybe I don't, and obviously I became a Catholic. Certain people, certain ideas, certain movements that I don't follow anymore because it just seems childish. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like people can view that way, can view Achilles in that light. And maybe as I read this book again, maybe I'll see it. I'm not gonna lie, I really like him,
Yeah,
and I'm glad you do
yeah,
too,
I like it.
because a lot of people are not. They don't like Achilles.
And I was surprised when you said that. I'm like, what?
Even Plato,
Oh, okay,
Plato doesn't like him.
man.
I'm making sure we're recording, but yeah,
Yeah.
Plato doesn't like him. Plato, because he thought the youth in Athens wanted to be too much like Achilles,
Ah, okay. So
and he said
yeah.
he was bad. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have said Hector is a better character. Which
said
is
what?
Hector is a
Yeah,
better
there's a
character.
part there where you read about him, like his wife loves him, you know,
No,
kids
he's
and-
painted as a badass.
yeah,
He is.
he's very manly,
Yeah.
like
He does have a lot of like Christian values in a way.
at least it seemed like when they were talking about the family, that it seemed like they had some family. I'm not sure if as the books go along,
Yeah.
they
There's like two parts where I'm like, oh, he ruins it, but
Yeah.
most of Hector, like most of the scenes with Hector, he's great. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's either Aquinas or maybe Dante. That they or the church fathers. I'm not, man. I should know this. I should write these things down when I hear them. But they add Hector. They have 5 people in the pagan world, and they add Hector as one of the most virtuous pagans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Hector's one of them, and Achilles. Like none of the Achaeans is in there.
Yeah.
Only Hector, which is interesting because
Wow.
if you think about like Homer,
Uh-huh.
obviously he's pro-Achaean. He's a Greek.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how he painted a Trojan
Which was the enemy.
in a better light in some way, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. I can't explain that, but that's very very interesting. Like I don't know why he would do that,
Yeah.
but you know, it's like if we wrote a story today, America versus Russia, and we write a Russian in a
As
good
one of the best characters.
yeah, and he has more like American values than we do. Like that, you know, that's essentially what.
Gotcha.
Isn't that weird? It's like imagine a
Yeah.
Russian and he cares about free speech, and you're like, what?
I see. Yeah.
That's essentially what Hector is,
Uh-huh. That's
which is very weird.
Uh-huh.
Like it's how can you explain that? How can you explain someone who is like on the Achaean side
Yeah. Mhm.
and he wrote Hector in such a great way, which in a way kind of tells me,
Well, but maybe like for example, I guess it might have to do with how people were back then, especially like the Greeks. So like you mentioned Plato's him saying that he was like a bad influence because a lot of the young people wanted to be like him, and they saw Hector as like the boring guy, things like that. But with Christian values, we value a family man, calm, more down to earth,
but here's
versus being like super badass. Like I can go ahead and
Dude,
fight 1,000
well,
guys.
here's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. So a lot of people say, a lot of scholars say that this story, the Iliad especially, is just Achilles versus Hector, meaning,
Oh, okay.
and I wouldn't say it like versus in the sense of like, oh, they're gonna physically fight, which they do. But the point is not the fight itself. The point is like these two men and what they stand for itself.
The clash of their ideas.
Yeah, and these two tribes, essentially, like what moves the story forward is Hector versus Achilles.
Okay.
And even if we're still in book 1, but even in book 1, it's just Achilles versus Agamemnon.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, Achilles doesn't really care about Agamemnon that much.
Yeah.
He mostly, and later on we'll see, he mostly cares about Hector.
Yeah.
And there's reasons why, but essentially that's like in the yeah, let's keep on checking because qué hueva de que está grabando y que no esté. So essentially in the Greek mind and in the Greek consciousness of this time, it's these two men against each other. And if you think about like what Achilles stands for and what I'm just like going off the cuff. If you think about like what Achilles stands for and what Hector stands for, Achilles stands for like the rugged, I wouldn't say loner, but the rugged cowboy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very attractive, not gonna lie. That even nowadays, like I watch movies like that and sometimes I'm like, man, can I be like that? But I'm like, I'm married, I have a kid on the way. It's game over. That's not a thing for me anymore. But it is attractive for men. I can see why it's attractive. That's why I think we're attracted to like certain UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Or whatever actors, rappers, artists in general, like the men who don't follow the path and pave their own way. So you have these two things where like you have Achilles, who's like the rugged individual who does whatever he wants, and he has the authority and the power to do so.
Yeah.
And then you have Hector, who's like very patriotic. He's not thinking about himself. He is very self-sacrificial. He has a kid. He has his wife.
Yeah.
He makes it very clear he does everything for them. Even if there's certain scenes where he could escape, I don't want to spoil it. He can, and he decides to fight. He, in contrast with his brother Paris, who's a coward.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
He's beautiful, but he's a beautiful coward. It does show like where maybe I'm just going off the cuff. Maybe the Greeks were thinking we have these two paths. Maybe that's the question as well.
Yeah.
We're like, what do we want to be as a culture?
Gotcha.
Like, what do we value? And maybe that's what Homer was doing. And maybe it wouldn't work if, I don't know, right? Maybe if a character like Hector was with the Achaeans, maybe that wouldn't have worked. Maybe he had to be with the other
Yeah.
tribe. So
Yeah, because so far, I mean, what I read so far is the Trojans are not portrayed as these like evil guys. You know, they're just an enemy, right? But
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
not like they're inherently evil,
I guess.
or at least not up until now, right?
And what I've read, it's almost like the Trojans and the Greeks, they're like, or the Achaeans in the story, it's like Kentucky versus New York. Like in the sense of like, maybe it's a bad example because it's the same country, but as far as like culture,
Okay.
same. Well, maybe the denominations are different, but it's the same religion. It's
Yeah.
Christianity. But like, because they say they have the same gods, they have the same culture,
Yeah.
they have the same
That's true,
customs.
yeah.
So like, the language is the same. So they're very similar.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So
Yeah, they're not portrayed as completely different.
no, they're not.
Like for example, when you see like, for example, like World War, let's say World War II, they, for example, U.S. and Japan, for example, they're portrayed very, very differently.
Yeah.
Or we using Germany as an example, right? And I'm not saying the Nazis were good, but you can clearly see the big difference between them, right? America fighting for freedom, protecting like the different ethnicities, etc., versus this guy being the evil, right? But in here you see just two very similar guys that happen to be at war, and it's not like one is the clear evil one, right?
Yeah. Well, because essentially, Paris started this. Paris and Helen. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
okay, so I mean,
That's true. I didn't take it that way.
maybe I'm like I'm out of my wheelhouse because like we have the literal interpretation. Paris steals Helen,
Right.
and the war starts. But maybe because like the way stories unfold, and especially like throughout history, it's and I'm still understanding this, so I could be wrong, but I'll just say it. So like we can have the literal interpretation, like I just mentioned, Paris steals Helen, but it can. If you look at like if we were to see the real story, what I mean about real is if we were to go back in history, and we were actually there for the Trojan War, which a lot of historians think that did happen, and there's a lot of evidence.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of evidence. Look into it. It's actually super interesting. But if we were to go back, we would see a different story from the Iliad. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe this is very close to the source. That would be awesome if this is very close.
Yeah.
But
Like a dramatized version.
But I would say, even if it doesn't look exactly the same, this captures the essence of what happened. So, like maybe, for example, you have Paris stealing Helen, and maybe you can see it in what happened in real life is maybe the Trojans, maybe not physically, maybe not even like in a literal way, but maybe in some sense they did steal something. They stole something that belonged to the Achaeans, and think about it. That's how wars start. A lot, and even like fights. Like we're from Bronzo, there's a lot of fights all the time.
Yeah.
Most of these fights start over a woman.
That's true. Yeah.
In a very literal way, like they start over. Hey, either you looked at my.
Like the Paulo Quisel fights that you
yeah. We'll edit the fights in there.
Yeah.
Like we'll edit like a whole minute video of the fights now. So
we're talking about this, and
they're horrible fights.
They're super fun to watch sometimes.
They're super fun. They are very fun to watch. So if you see a lot of those fights, I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar that they started over a woman.
Well, you see the girl with the roses walking in there, trying to separate the guys. Déjalo, ya, déjalo ya. No te comprometas.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And because no man is gonna fight over duels or like problems. I don't know where it stopped. Sorry, keep on going.
Yeah,
it stopped.
Yeah, so basically like you have these emotions playing a huge role in how the story gets shaped, right? In this case, for example, Helen being one of the main characters, why there's all this war, and probably Lost being like the main thing causing it. But then you see other parts where the damage can be mitigated, right, or stopped. But you see other emotions, like for example, like pride. In this case, Agamemnon, like don't want, not wanting to give up his prize, um, and then because of that, then you have Achilles has to give his prize, but then he gets mad and then he prays to the gods for the intercession against uh, the Achaeans, his own people, right? Because he's mad. So you see like a bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and in each case you have like a something that could have stopped it, right? But then you see those guys making the wrong decision. Um, Spoiler alert in the future, like when you see the fight between Paris and Melanius, and it's like things keep on happening that just could have stopped, could have stopped, could have stopped, could have
the
stopped.
gods intervene.
And then the gods intervene, and for them it's just like a game, like haha, let's see them fight, and you even
Yes,
see
yes,
like
you're right.
those are you guys, these are my guys, let's see who wins. Just like playing like a little game, right? For
Yeah.
them. Um, which,
Yeah.
which in the introduction there they make a really good point about explaining about them, like since they're immortal, for them it's just like games, right?
Yeah. You know what's a good thing about reading this book twice, or like discussing it twice, is that we're now gonna remember this.
Yeah.
We're
That's
gonna remember
true.
everything, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of book one, I mean, some things happen here, but pretty much, um, Achilles' mom, Thetis.
Mm-hmm.
I got this. I got it right this time.
Yeah.
She goes to Zeus, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And tells him to pretty much make the Achaeans lose,
Yeah.
so that, well, let's mention first.
Mm-hmm.
Achilles wept. We haven't talked about that.
Yes, you.
We haven't talked
Yeah.
about that, dude.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts, Achilles wept, and I think this is such a powerful line. Not because like one of those, I'm one of those people who are like, yes, men should cry.
Yeah.
It's more like it does show like
Yeah.
such a strong, have God, man,
Yeah,
like
uh-huh.
one of the most
Yeah.
powerful man in the world probably
Yeah, uh-huh.
is weeping, and I don't think he's necessarily weeping for the girl. Maybe he is, but it's mostly how he was wronged, and it is his anger.
Yeah,
it
his
is,
rage.
he
Like
can't do anything.
when you see kids they're fighting and they cry from rage, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
That's
they can't contain their emotions and they start crying.
the only difference here. Is this crying? Because when kids cry, it's ugly. And here, obviously, he's the most beautiful man in the world.
Yeah.
No, but it's also like a,
Yeah.
man. I don't know how to explain this, but it's almost like an eternal cry. Like this
Yeah,
this
like,
crying
oh.
deserves a painting, in the sense of
Yes.
there's a
Yeah.
purpose and there's a reason and there's a good reason for the cry,
Yeah.
for the weeping, and it's like a beautiful, like well-deserved weeping that echoes.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
it's echoing, because like
Yes,
when I
yeah.
read Achilles wept, it's almost like that's one of the main, if not, it's, I would, to me at least, I'm speaking myself now, that's the main point in this book, or not the main point, but like the thing that stands out to me, because everything is wrapped into this.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Not in the scene with Agamemnon.
No.
Everything is wrapped into his raw feeling.
Yeah. The thing when he went into asking for this to happen, right? The Achaean suffering and all that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and it's right there, like you say. So he wept and prayed, and his noble mother heard him, right?
Yeah.
And that's when he starts like making his plea, right?
Yeah. And she intercedes. Yeah. It's just it seems, I can't find the words. It's I wouldn't obviously it doesn't compare, but it's almost like when in the Garden of I'm a bad Catholic. In the Garden of
Ah,
I'm a horrible Catholic.
uh,
I'm sorry, people.
wasn't it in Mount Olives?
No es Gethsemane, no sé qué.
Gethsemane?
Gethsemane,
Gethsemane.
Gethsemane. That is a moment that I remember, like when once I became a believer, that always sticks out to me because it's not just any type of weeping. It's
Mm,
like the weeping that goes on through eternity.
gotcha.
You see what I mean? Like that weeping is going on right now, and even as after we die, before we were born, and after we die,
Yeah.
it's almost like I mentioned, it's a weeping that echoes through eternity.
Yeah.
And I see the same thing here. Like there's something so powerful about a man crying, but I don't mean it as a liberal.
Yeah.
I don't mean it.
No, like, and also not just any man.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
man powerful enough that it's like, oh, he's
Crying.
crying.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you see a weak man crying, it's like he's crying because he's weak.
yeah,
But you see a strong man, is like,
yeah.
oh,
And I feel like there's a lot of this idea of like, oh, men should cry and they should, you know, be in touch with their feelings.
yeah.
And maybe a little bit of that is true. I will admit, like,
I
just
feel like you have to earn it.
you have to, yeah,
Yeah.
or like a small dose. Don't. I think nowadays like people go overboard and they go too far into that feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's like maybe think, okay, why am I sad? Because of this one thing. Okay, let me go exercise. Let me go,
Mhm.
conquer something. Go conquer the day. Like don't just stay in
Yeah.
that sadness. But anyway, there's something. There is something like special. I whistle because I think I have a chipped tooth. It's because of jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
I need to fix that in Matamoros.
I want to.
Bro, but you don't whistle, right?
No. Oh, that was you whistling?
That was me whistling, dude. But dude, ever since I have a chipped tooth, because I didn't wear a mouthpiece once,
Oh.
and I chipped it, and then I've been whistling. But it's annoying, but it's loud. Anyway, back to the point.
I thought it was something outside.
No, it was me, dude. That was loud, right? Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, it's me. Okay, so whenever, to me, it's almost comparable to that raw emotion.
Yeah.
And I think he's staring out the ocean and everything. Like he's in contact with nature, with almost like I guess you could say the like eternity. Like
Yeah.
he's doing something bigger than himself,
Yeah.
even though he's half God, and he is with himself in this raw emotion, knowing that he can't do anything.
Yeah.
That to me is powerful. And then obviously his mom comes in. His mom comes in, intervenes. Thetis, and she then hears his weeping, and he pretty much says, "I don't want to. I'm not going to participate in the war, so they can see why they need me, why they're going to fail without me." So Thetis' mom goes to Zeus and asks Zeus to make the Achaeans lose,
Mhm.
just so Achilles can be looked as the hero.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's essential. Which to me is where he falls.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
because someone who is virtuous would fight no matter what, no matter. I'm still checking if it's recording. No matter if you disagree or agree with the leader. I mean, you're fighting for your men. You're fighting with your men.
Yeah.
And right here, he's letting a lot of people die just because of his ego.
Yeah.
Pretty much, he wants to be looked at as the hero. He wants the Achaeans to beg Achilles to come back,
Yeah. Mhm.
which kind of does happen.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It kind of does happen, but that's essentially what he wants. Now, this is where I'm like, okay, open season on Achilles. You can criticize him for this one action. Cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Other than that, I think he's.
I feel like
awesome.
that this is the one action that, at least up until now, that's like, yeah, he messed up, right?
Yeah.
And you can
in
also
book
see,
one
like,
at least, because I think he in book one at least.
Yeah.
Because he messes up in other books. But
Yeah. But I feel like this is like his first main like messing up, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But you can also see how so everything in Achilles is like enhanced, right? Strength, motions, bravery, etc. But also like the things that he prays for, like you see a lot of the times, um, especially like in kids, when they complain and they ask for like things like I wish everybody died, or I wish
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
things
yeah.
like that,
That's
right?
a good point. Yeah.
But then you have this guy who's actually talking to his mom, who's a god, and having that being realized, right?
And it's a real effect on real people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so it's also like nice to see how not nice to see, but like you can see clearly how like these guys have like things enhanced a lot, especially like Achilles being a
yeah,
god, to
yeah.
where you see like this type
And
of deals things happening, right?
I'll try to make it concise. So, like, you have Achilles, who is the main character, and for a reason, he's a half god, like we just mentioned, and he is someone to pay attention to. He's someone worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
And this one action of him calling his mom to intercede,
Yeah.
and talk to Zeus, so like things can go his way. So
Yeah.
and this one action is going to cost the loss of men.
Yeah.
And the story doesn't care. The story
Yeah.
just keeps going.
Yeah.
Now, that's the inversion. Like, in my opinion, that's where like the story of Christ changes, because the story of Christ raises the individual. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like the story of Christ, like it's almost like these other bigger characters in life, they have to be humbled down, and like the lower people are brought up.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So like here, they don't care about the average Joes. Like
Yeah.
no one cares.
Yeah,
no one
literally,
cares.
it's like-
no one cares.
Yeah.
Homer doesn't care. The Greeks didn't care. Like they just look up to.
Not even mention.
Not even yeah. It's like, but never mind. So I was gonna say something else, something regarding our times, but like, I'll say it. So like, even with like nautical culture, like a lot of nauticals are, we'll edit it out, but like they're painted as gods.
Yeah.
In a way, they're kind of like gods in the Greek sense. They became gods,
Yeah.
And a lot of people value the. In a sense, like when you go out of Christianity, okay, I guess that's the perfect way to put it. When you leave Christianity, that's what happens. You start praising that which is higher than the rest, in the sense of like you start praising
Oh yes.
the
I see.
Napoleon, you start praising like the Elon Musk,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
start
I see.
you start praising the people who are living in this like, or operating above morality, you can say.
Yeah. Yes.
You
Yeah.
know? And
That's a very good example.
and it's like they're like, so to me, if you ask yourself what's the difference between,
like for example, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like we said about the Wolf of Wall Street. That, oh, this guy was playing, outside of the rules, and it's like, oh, he's being glorified because.
I wait, let's stop.
Immigration, everybody on the floor.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you. We'll definitely edit that out.
I'm gonna say we should definitely leave that.
Why did you do that? So, yeah, we need your office. We need your office. No, so yeah, okay. And in that sense, like Christianity, and I've noticed when you're operating outside of Christianity, you operate in a world where you look up to people who are essentially playing the role of gods.
Yeah. that's true. Yeah.
And if you ask me, dude,
Taking the rules and
and
stuff like that.
I'm a Catholic. I don't mean this in a bad way. Like I'm trying to figure it out. Like if you ask me, what's the difference between a god and a drug lord? I'm talking about like the most powerful drug lord.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
There's pretty much not
there's
a
no
difference,
difference.
yeah.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
There's no difference because the power they have, the authority they have, they're at the top.
They made their own rules.
They're at the top of their own hierarchy.
True.
So like when you're operating outside of the Christian hierarchy, you become a god in that sense. Now I'm
Yeah.
saying God,
No, yeah.
because we're going based off the world of the story.
Yeah.
So like once you see it that way, it's not so difficult to understand the view of gods and how they viewed the gods.
Yeah.
Because we obviously have a very, as Christians, we have a very different,
Very different.
view of gods.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Or God.
we
yeah.
have a very different view of divinity.
Godly, like not godly,
Eh.
like sorry, like people who follow God.
Well, I was gonna say like we have a different view of God Himself, the Son, the Holy Spirit, of course, and we even view Mary in a different, and we place her and we place God and even the saints, I would say, like we place them like in a place where like they seem, I wouldn't say untouchable, but they're deemed with respect,
Yeah.
and they have this authority that we don't have.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, and I'm sighing because I'm hoping I'm making this, I can make this point, like in the ancient point of view, like the gods were assholes.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
like the in the sense of like they were that douchebag who can get away with a lot of things,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of that going on right now. So that's why I'm saying, like, once you see it that way,
Yeah.
there's no difference between the old gods and
It's
and
like
the people today.
I'm not saying it's true. You know, there's a lot of stuff like going, but like the thing you see with like the talks about people like in the Epstein files and Bill Gates, things like that, that they have so much power that they can do things that are completely outside of what we think it's possible.
We can't, yeah,
And
exactly.
for example, like even like the thing with the meat now that they're making like lab grown meat, it's like
I didn't know that.
I think it's supposedly Bill Gates' company that they make like lab grown meat. But it's crazy to imagine that if somebody told you like in the
I
90s,
think I've heard of that.
hey,
Yeah.
they can make meat without meat. It's like, what? You think about like mushrooms and potatoes put together or something like that, but uh, they 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 play in a completely different, I guess, arena. That's like pretty much almost like gods, you know.
Yeah. It's like even
Talking like gods,
yeah,
like in here, right?
that you leave the Christian point of view, or the Christian hierarchy, I should say,
Hmm.
and essentially the gods will appear. Now, how? Look at the 20th century. Look at Stalin, Hitler.
Yeah.
They were gods.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah. They can do whatever they want.
they were playing the roles of gods,
Yeah.
and the power they had over a whole nation. So and
And
the
they
world.
had people's lap at
Yeah.
their disposals,
Yeah,
to throw.
and obviously I'm not saying that's good, but what I'm trying to say is you leave. It's the and something I appreciate about this book is that it's making me understand how like you leave the Christian worldview, and you leave the this hierarchy, and you'll end up in a place that different gods will appear.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, like, what's the difference between Apollo and maybe someone like Stalin, Hitler, or
Yeah.
like there. I'm not saying Apollo himself. I'm just saying like the gods in general.
Mhm.
There is no difference. They have armies backing them. They have
Yeah.
so much. They are not only armies. They have a whole ideology. They have not only like the physical power. They have the abstract world. They have everything around them.
Yeah.
So like when you start seeing it that way,
Mhm.
gods start making sense, and you start realizing we have them now.
Yeah.
They're around us, and like they're creeping up. Even if you think about like what the LGBT and all that stuff is,
Mhm.
it's a god in its own way. It's a god appearing.
Yeah.
It's a god in the horizon. Like
True.
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can't escape it. We're as humans we're gonna find different gods,
Yeah.
and I find it interesting because like in this book we can see like how they view the gods and how like it was so. And even me as a reader, I can still see how true it is, and
Yeah.
how they like. For example, you have these different gods playing a direct role. Like for example, Thetis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thetis with Achilles.
Mhm.
And who cares if we're pronouncing it right? Let's just keep on talking. Thetis with Achilles. That intervention, like that intercession, that is like it shows a direct relationship between the gods and the humans,
Yeah.
and in a way we're still having that now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a Catholic. I don't mean it in a
No, but
disparaging
yeah,
way.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's things that might different ideologies, and then you end up putting faces to those ideologies and kind of like become the people's gods. Like,
Yeah,
for example, like if you think about
that's a great point. Yeah,
if you think about somebody who idolize his power. They might see someone at the time, like for example Stalin or Napoleon, as gods of their time, right? Or you see like money, for example, Warren Buffett. You know, a lot of people see him like, you know, pretty much a deity, right? Um, and maybe these people are like a way of putting faces to those ideologies, because I would say like the gods for the people would be like more those ideas behind them, right? Like whether it's money, power, or for example, like especially a lot in very young guys that are like they want to get girls and things like that, and then you have somebody popping up that's showing them how to do it, and they start following him. Like for example, there's a guy in social media called Clavicle or
yeah,
Clavicular,
yeah,
and a lot of people are following him,
yeah.
and because he's doing all this crazy stuff,
He's,
or like,
yeah.
or for example, Togi. I don't know if you follow Togi.
No.
I've seen some of his videos. Like the guy's super crazy. It's super funny, to be honest. I think he became a Christian recently, so
That's good.
I was
A lot of them
that was
become
pretty
Christian. Yeah.
crazy. But at the time he was doing like some really crazy stuff. But you can see people idolizing, like for example, pleasure or leisure, like as being like their god. And I'm not saying these guys are their gods, but they're like putting faces to those.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, so for example, you have Achilles, who, in a sense, is the god of the rebel, the god
Yeah.
of anger, the god of like, I will do what I will do what I want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
quit. You know, the James Dean, maybe I don't know. It's a very rebellious. Like we do live in the spirit. Like nowadays, we do live in the spirit of Achilles, and it's almost like you said, like this one feeling, this one emotion.
Mm-hmm.
There's a leader. There's a face to it, and
Yeah.
it's like that's essentially a god.
Yeah.
And for example, you see a lot of people say whenever they get angry or whenever they do something that's stupid, they'll say it's very interesting, bro. Like we're religious by nature, because they'll say, even if they're atheists, they'll say something came over me.
Oh yeah. That's true.
What do you mean by that? I thought you were like a clump of cells, and I thought,
Yeah.
you know, this is all random and there's no inherent meaning to anything. What do you mean something came over you? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But they speak in I know what they're saying. They're speaking more metaphorically, but also literally, like something did come over them.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
feeling of rage, or let's just take rage for example.
Mhm.
That rage is a god,
Yeah.
and it's having some
Influence.
and yes, it's having an influence, and it's this rage is making them act in a certain way,
Yeah.
and the rage is having its way with this person.
Yes.
So like,
Yeah.
who's in control?
Mm-hmm.
The rage or you?
Yeah. True.
So, and if the rage is in control, then it means the god of rage is in control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it means that's why I think Homer is questioning
Yeah.
who's really in control. Do we have free will?
Yeah, and like when we
But-
say when we say God,
This is very
like,
interesting. I think we're hitting on something good.
because yeah, like and you can see that because like when we say gods, we're not saying like our meaning of like God, right? But how they are displayed here, right?
Yeah.
Like some sort of entities that have, you know, or maybe not entities, but like I don't know how to describe it,
Well-
but yeah, like you said, rage, for example.
Yeah.
Acting sort of like as a god, as like guiding something, you know, or like for example, like when it's people say, you know, oh, something took over me, right? And it's that emotion. But one very interesting thing here is that in the introduction they mentioned the
Should I
god.
smoke it?
I wouldn't. It's not yours, right?
No, I thought
You don't know what the person had.
Well, he said there was a party yesterday.
But oh no, like the person who.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Sorry, I interrupted. You were saying?
For example, like Aphrodite's, she's pretty much like lost, right? You can see like how she's portrayed like basically the god of lust, right? You might have Zeus, probably like some thing related to pride, and then you might have things like Harry's, like rage, like for war and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have these like lesser gods in here that are pretty much a mix between one thing and another. They're
Like the
not,
god of the sea and
yeah. Or for example, like Helen, right? I think she's a goddess. Like
yeah.
she has pride.
Oh
she
yeah,
has,
you're right. You're
lust
right. You're
as
right. You're
well.
right.
And you
She's
can
half
see,
god, right? Or no?
I don't know if she's fully God or
No say.
like half God, but you can clearly
I
see
don't
like
trust myself anymore.
she's very lustful, you know, leaving her the first husband for the another one
What? Okay.
and things like that.
Yeah. We'll get to that in book.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it, but book 3.
Yeah,
There's some things in there where I'm like, was she in control? You know what I mean? Like, there's some things in there where it makes me question, like, was she in control? But, well, basically, the way book 1 ends is Thetis going to Zeus and asking Zeus to intervene and make the Achaeans lose. So, and he sends a dream to Agamemnon
yeah,
to do a certain action, which will lead to more casualties.
yeah.
I'm just making sure it's recording, which will lead to more casualties. And yeah, dude, but that's very interesting. I think we got into a good conversation about the gods because I
Yeah.
think we're nailing exactly what the gods are and how they're still making an appearance.
Yeah,
It's weird.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people can say, oh, they're demons. Yeah,
Because we're using the
can-
word gods just because we're reading this book, right?
yeah.
But all right.
So we got the introduction, book 1. Hopefully it's good. Any closing thoughts, my dear Santos?
Yeah, I would say that yeah, this first book is very good at showing about the character of Achilles, how he's like even though he's part of the story and pretty much going in what's going on, right? But he's also like standing outside of a lot of things, like for example, being one of the only persons that can stand up against Agamemnon.
Yeah,
Yeah, like not really caring that he's the. I mean, he does care that he's the king, but because he's the king, it's not like he's not going to speak up against him.
yeah,
And he clearly cares about glory, right? Him choosing to live a short life with glory.
yeah,
And I guess that's also something that drives like all of his a lot of his intentions, right?
yeah,
And there's a very big difference between how him and Agamemnon hand themselves. Agamemnon looking like a lot of he seems very kind of like childish in a lot of ways. Like like when it comes to like giving up his prize and because he could have saved the people by giving up his prize, but he doesn't want to do that. Like he's very very prideful. Um, but then you also see Achilles being kind of childish when he starts praying about basically the downfall of the
yeah,
Achaeans, right?
for
So
sure.
it's a very there's a lot of contrast, right? Like when he saw everything that was happening because of Apollo, and he was trying to stop it, but now because he's being the one being hurt, he wants to yeah, Achilles now like when now because he's the one being challenged or hurt, he's praying about
Sorry. Go on. It's because it's horrible. My voice is horrible. Go on.
but yeah, so now he's the one that
Yeah,
is asking about the Achaeans falling down because he's the one being hurt, right? And then you see also, how that actually happens, right? Like you see a lot of stuff that any other person might have asked for something like that, but they probably wouldn't have. The gods would not have intervened. But then you have a person like Achilles, like
yeah.
obviously he's the son of a goddess, and that helps a lot. But
Yeah.
um,
It's 'cause- yeah.
how there's a clear distinction between regular men and these guys that are favored by the gods, right?
And that's the cool thing about this book. There's so much you can take from it, and like there's so many ideas that dude, we only probably touched like 1% of it.
Yeah.
Like that's how deep this book gets. But something you made me think about is, like, for example, I'm just making sure it's recording. Yes. Something you made me think about is how, like, how there's certain men who have this relationship
Like favor.
with these gods, and they can see them, and yeah, and they have the favor, and the gods come directly to these men because in the sense of like, in the sense these men are closer to them
Yeah.
based on the hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Because hierarchy is big on book one. Well,
Yeah.
the whole thing. I would say every ancient text, you know.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, so for example, you have, I think, the Christian story flips it on its head because in the Christian story you have, like here you have these people who are bigger than life, top of the hierarchy, and they have the favor with gods, and they commune with the gods, and then you have the saints, right, in the Christian story
Yeah.
who they're not gods, but obviously they're not, and we don't view them that way. But like they're, in a sense, they're viewed. They humbled themselves so much that they're pointing to God. You know,
Yeah.
I guess you can say it that way. And they're, it's very weird because like even like a saint would be at the top of the hierarchy, but they're serving the lowest, and that's what Christ did.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to me, it's very cool how you have the ancient gods who would favor men who were,
Who are great. Like,
yeah, like who have this power, this raw
Yeah.
power over other men, and then that flips on his head, where like now Christ opened this door to men and to the saints, where now like the lowliest of men, the one who can humble himself,
Yeah.
and the one who's at the top of the hierarchy, but who can serve the lowest,
Yeah.
is now, in the spot of Achilles, in the spot of Agamemnon, in the spot of Hector.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's very,
Almost like the opposite.
yeah, and it's very interesting how like this one story and this one idea, this one way of living, shaped the way for Christ, who seems like flips everything on his
Yeah.
head.
There's so much contrast. Yeah.
But it makes sense because it's like, because a lot of people say Christ is a revolutionary,
And yeah.
and he's not a revolutionary.
And you can see from this text how this logic like that's used, like, or it was used by the pagan world, how flawed it is, because you see the outcomes of that happens, right, when you have these powerful people who are serving themselves basically, um, how everything ends up turning, versus those now, for example, like basically they have to serve themselves last, right? And there's a huge contrast in like the moral compass. Like these guys are looking for glory, right? Battle, prizes, etc. And now we have, for example, like the saints, who their only target is to humble themselves to be able to follow Christ, right? In this case, these guys would have to fight wars and win prizes, etc., to favor those gods.
To get some
And now
glory.
it's the
Yeah.
opposite,
Yeah, yeah,
right? You have to humble yourself the most
Yeah.
to be able to please God, right?
If I'm-
I'm not sure if please is the right word, but
I think please is a good word.
perfect.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Don't stress.
Nice.
I'll get some more water.
Thank you. Wait, es otro,
Con madre,
es otro pedo.
yeah,
Rick the goat.
Rick the goat. But yeah, like now it's with the coming of Christ, is you can see how it's completely the opposite. But also you can see it also how even for the Jews it was crazy. Like, what you mean? Like, aren't you the son of God? How are you gonna let yourself get
Of
crucified?
course,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I heard this once, or I think I read it or something. that a lot of Romans, I'm making sure it's recording. It sucks, but we're gonna have to look at the camera.
Yeah.
A lot of Romans, but like when Jesus was when he came back, the resurrection, they didn't have a problem with the resurrection itself. That wasn't a big deal to them, which is crazy nowadays because it seems like
Yeah.
atheists would have a problem with that. But the problem to them was how a God would let himself do that, would let himself go through that pain,
Yeah.
would let himself be humiliated in
Yeah.
that way. That was, which is very, very. It says a lot about the times. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so okay, it says a lot about the time that Christ.
But also the human logic as well.
Yeah, and because like nowadays the logic is, well, what's the proof? I need to see the mechanical proof
Yeah.
of what happened, and I need to know scientifically what happened, and
Yeah.
when I see that he resurrected in a scientific way and I have the proof and we can measure it or whatever,
Yeah.
then I will believe. That's like
Yeah.
I'm generalizing, right? Because atheists are not that dumb, but
That's
like,
the key point. Like for now,
yeah,
Christianity, like he resurrected.
yeah.
Yeah.
But back then that wasn't the
Yeah.
problem. That wasn't their
It's
problem.
like yeah, but
They
how could you get humiliated?
they
Yeah.
they lived in reality and
Yeah.
they knew that miracles happened,
Yeah.
and they knew that God's intervened, and they knew that this divine
Mhm.
reality intervened with our world the way we see in this book. So they had no problem with that.
Mhm.
That wasn't a problem. And even now, like, we can see the divine world intervene every day. We can see it.
Yeah.
We have to open our eyes, but we can see it. But anyway, the problem wasn't the resurrection of Christ. The problem was, how a man, or how a God so powerful, the one God, would allow himself to be humiliated.
Yeah.
That's the big problem,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in the modern lens, that's not the problem we have.
Yeah.
Because we're so entrenched in the Christian story that being humble is a virtue, and being humble makes sense. But back then it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with right here. In this book, we're dealing with at the top of the hierarchy, there's no humbleness. There's no such thing as humbleness.
Yeah.
Because maybe there is some sense of it, some dose, but like, to be powerful and to be at the top of the hierarchy, and we saw it with Agamemnon, you can't be humble and say, well, you know what? Achilles is right.
Yeah.
Hey, you're right. Let me dap you up,
Yeah.
and let's move on from here, because actually I was wrong this whole time. There's none of that. And even though that's a virtue in our world, it's not a virtue here.
And even in the world today, I would say that it's a virtue that it's weird. Like to be able to humble yourself. It's very hard to, I guess, move up in the world with that mindset.
Yeah.
Especially like for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
things like business and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like if you're not looking out for yourself, it's very hard. That's why I think like Christianity is. I'm not saying in a bad way, but it's weird.
It is weird.
It's like
It's the punk rock of religions.
yeah,
It really is.
yeah.
It really is.
Like for example, like now only if you're Catholic, because not even I don't know about Protestants in this case, but people like people that are saints, we as Catholic view them as greats, right?
Yeah.
But you talk to any other person, is like, whoa, this guy was poor his whole life. Like what, like
Yeah.
what he accomplished. Like how many, I don't know, how much land did he have,
Yeah.
etc.
And Achilles would question that.
Yeah,
All these guys would
these
question
guys
that.
would be like,
All these guys
guys-
worth mentioning would
yeah.
question that. Yeah.
like if we think about a guy like, for example, actually any saint or almost any saint, like these guys would be like, oh, this guy's a nobody, right? Like this guy did not accumulate wealth. This guy did not accumulate glory in the sense like they have, because they had to humble themselves. Like they had to turn the other cheek, things like that. Um, but also, if you think about it deeply, you can see how those values actually make you a better person and how it can make a better world, right? Humbling yourself down.